What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Walkout Podcast.
where we talk about fights, news, and more.
And this Sunday, it's finally time for possibly the biggest event in UFC history and a global spectacle that has grabbed the whole world's attention. It may have gotten some criticism for not being as great as once promised, but when we take a look at the full card now, it is actually really stacked. And it's headlined by two of the biggest stars in the UFC, you have to say, Ilia Topuria and, of course, Alex Pereira, both fighting in title fights, double title fights for this event, and a lot of other big names like Sean O'Malley, Derek Lewis, Bo Nickal, Michael Chandler, Diego Lopes, and of course, the new star of promotion in the UFC, Josh Hokit. So, with the unbelievable location of the South Lawn of the White House in Washington, D.C., and a star studded crowd that should be there on the front seats, this is going to be a night to remember. What do you think of the overall spectacle of this event?
Yeah, I mean, it's unprecedented, really, in UFC history, right? To have it hasn't happened before. A UFC card at on the White House lawn. It's incredible. I mean, from the first day when this was announced, I remember, just being very surprised when the first rumors, came out. Like, really, are they going to have a outside UFC event at the White House?
Yeah,
It's incredible, and I didn't really. I don't know. I sort of thought that maybe it wouldn't happen anyway. Maybe something would, I don't know, something wouldn't work out with it. But here we are, and they prepared a venue. They prepared some sort of outside, almost like an arena,
yeah,
And I think it looks really. I saw some people sort of taking digs at it, but I think it looks really cool. I think that in some ways maybe the promotion could have been a bit better, maybe even before and before. I think that if anything, it is a really stacked card. When when we're so close to it, I thought that I was a bit, because there were so many rumors beforehand about the card. About it being six title fights, or Donald Trump said that was, or maybe it was Dana White who said it was going to be six title fights, and that obviously
yeah,
didn't happen. But that's almost impossible, and I don't know. I think they were kind of stupid for even bringing that up from
yeah,
the beginning. But I think when now when it's only when we're so close to the event itself, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I'm very hyped for it most of all. And if anything, I would have wanted it to be even more, just prelims. Why can't we get some
yeah,
prelims here even more, So, but yeah, I'm happy. Do you feel the same way maybe about the prelims, or is
yeah,
there
totally.
anything
I
else?
mean, I was Googling it a few weeks ago because I was like, why would they not put prelims on it? Um, and then it came up with something like, yeah, there will be prelims, they will be announced soon. And I was
Yeah.
like, are they going to be announced like 2 weeks ahead? That seems very short notice, but of course they weren't. And this is the entire card. It's a pretty big card. Is it? I believe it's 7 or 8 fights on the main card, which is a lot. It's usually not that many, but like you said,
Yeah.
on a full fight night with the main card, prelims and early prelims, it's not really that much. So they have put all their eggs in the same basket here. Um, but yeah, the card itself, like you said, not what we were promised. And I did believe when Trump, to be honest, came out and said that it was going to be like six title fights. I thought, why would you just be saying that? It turns out, like you said, it's very unrealistic. And when we actually look at the full card now, it is very stacked. If this had been a regular fight card, we would be very happy. I mean, Diego Lopes is the first fight out, and he fought for the title like a few months ago. So it's a very stacked card. And just quickly, as you said, I think it's interesting that they have an outdoors event because Dana White has previously said that he doesn't want to have events, in like outdoor sports
Yeah.
venues. Like this, they wanted to go to Europe in like, I think it was the Bernabeu, home of Real Madrid, and he said like, no, it's difficult with no roof. What if it starts raining? If it's windy, stuff like that. And now they have something with like barely any protections. And I've seen some people say that it's a issue because the weather forecasts. I mean, the only thing I see on my timeline on X right now is the weather forecast for Sunday. Because if it
Yeah.
rains and it's windy, that's going to be a real struggle on the mats for like grappling and stand up and everything in terms of an MMA fight. Um, and as I think it's mentions about bugs as well in the heat and stuff like that. It can annoy the fighter. So it's going to be just interesting to see how it all plays out. But hopefully that won't affect the fights too much, we hope.
Yeah, it would be kind of funny though if, let's say, Michael Chandler ended up blaming it on the rain or the bugs if he gets knocked
Yeah,
out
yeah.
by Garcia or Ruffy. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a spectacle, that's for sure. All right, are we ready to just jump into the card here? I
yeah.
think first out, we of course have the main event. Ilia Topuria returning to the octagon after almost a year out after his win against Charles Oliveira. And Justin Gaethje, the interim champion, steps up. Something that caught my eye here is that Justin Gaethje is the same size underdog against Ilia Topuria as Sean Strickland was against Hamza Chimaev, and we all know how that fight played out. Is it the year of the upsets from the Americans, or is Ilia Topuria, is the position of favorite warranted here on the odds? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like with Hamzat, even though, of course, I was also very shocked, when when we saw the fight and just the way that the rounds went on, and even though I do think, we talked about that before after that fight, that it was very, 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 very close, and you could make a case for Hamzat actually winning that fight, maybe through, through I don't remember exactly what round it was, but it was a really close fight actually,
Yeah,
and um, and a lot of it was to be blamed on the weight cut. So with that context added, I also think that that I just don't see, even if Ilya, let's for example just say that he is already preparing for welterweight, sort of like Hamzat already said he was preparing for light heavyweight,
hmm
and let's say that Ilya has a similar type of weight cut. I mean, I don't really see that happening. I see Ilya as a much more professional fighter than Hamzat, and we have seen Hamzat before have had this kind of problems, getting, I don't know, colds or almost missing weight before, having similar issues and stuff, injuries reoccurring, where Ilya just has basically always, since the beginning. I mean, we can talk about the stuff with his wife when he was out for a long time, obviously, yeah, vacated the belt, which allowed this interim champ Gaethje to emerge, but I still see Ilya as much more professional, and I really don't think that will happen. Hamzat, he's that kind of fighter where if Strickland he gets in his head, which he kind of did, he could make that a dogfight, and that's sort of what happened. And then Hamzat gassed out, and things basically went as they did. Even though Hamzat is so much higher in level, the thing
yeah,
with Ilya, I really don't see that happening. If anything, I mean, I don't know. I really can't see it. I think that Ilya will come into this fight, he will be 100% from everything he's been talking, everything he's been saying beforehand. He seems to be 100% ready. He wants to show levels, even higher levels, even though he's on a generational run right now. And for me personally, I don't see any single aspect of Justin Gaethje that is better than Ilia Topuria. And actually, I barely see any aspects of Justin Gaethje that are, of course, we have to give respects to him. He fought a really good fight versus Paddy Pimblett, who is a good fighter by himself in the lightweight division. Even though you could maybe say that Paddy should have used a bit more of his grappling, I still think that Gaethje fought a good fighter. And with that said, though, I even see someone like Max Holloway as a higher tier of fighter than Justin Gaethje, really, even in this lightweight division. So for me, this fight is sort of even clearer than that one was versus Holloway.
yeah.
And I can't predict anything else than a round one knockout by Ilia Topuria, the champ, the champ returning to his belt. Do you sort of see it similarly, or do you
Yeah.
maybe see some kind of upset here, the
No,
impossible?
totally. I mean, the things I want to talk about this fight, it's nothing to do with the fight itself because I totally agree with you. Round
Yeah,
one KO, Ilia Topuria makes it look easy. I mean, he's done it against Charles, and Charles went in. Some people thought he guarded stupid and stuff like that, and like went in a bit too close in range. And to those people who criticized Charles, who we saw got a very, very good decision over Max Holloway recently. I mean, have you seen Justin Gaethje fight? He guards with his face basically. I mean,
yeah,
to expect him to then walk forwards, and has he got a good chin? Yeah, in some fights, but we also saw him at UFC 300 get flatline KO'd and schooled by Max Holloway in that fight at first and then flatline KO'd. That's not a good look. And if Max Holloway can do that, who, respect to Max, he's a brilliant boxer, but he hasn't got that much power, Ilia Topuria can shut your lights out. And I see too many openings. So, in terms of analysis, I totally agree with you. I mean, is there anything else to add? Expect, except, sorry, you should never underestimate the guy. I mean, this is Justin Gaethje's like retirement fight. I reckon if he doesn't win the belt, he's gonna retire. It's at the White House. It's the main event. If it's ever time to turn up, it's now. But personally, I just can't see it. I agree with you. Round one KO has to be from Ilia Topuria. Easy money, I reckon.
Yeah, and just quickly there, with this being his retirement fight and everything, I mean, I feel for the guy. I mean, Justin Gaethje, he's in this position, he's the interim champion, and he's gonna show up to this fight. He's gonna show up to the White House, White House lawn. It's President Trump's birthday. He's really gonna put. I think he's gonna try to put on, his best fight of his life probably. But
Yeah.
I just think that the level is just too big. And even though I wanna say something like he can make a competitive fight and get to the third round, fourth round, stand and bang. Just that's not gonna happen. The thing is his shin. Just the thing that separates Max surviving to the third round from, for example, Charles or some other earlier fights is that Gaethje doesn't have that level of fight IQ or just for me distance management or also the shin of Max.
Yeah. Nothing
It's just
like
such
that.
a big
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Gaethje also doesn't have, he doesn't have the reach. So
I mean, it's like if he can connect, we've seen Ilya dropped. Was it like against Jai Herbert? I think a while back in his
yeah,
career. And maybe
maybe
that's the
early.
thing. Maybe if Justin Gaethje can land, the head kick he knocked out Dustin Poirier with several years ago to
Yeah.
win the BMF belt. If he lands something like that, maybe we shouldn't underestimate him. I saw Diego Lopez recently, who obviously is a great fighter. He said that Ilia Topuria hasn't faced anyone with the power of Justin Gaethje. Maybe that's fair enough, but I mean, we'll get on to it later. For me, there's a lot of similarities to like Derek Lewis and Josh Hokit in this fight. I mean, power is one thing, but if you can't get in range, like you said, with the distance management, the fight IQ, then your power doesn't mean all that much. So I agree with your analysis. I would like to see something that would make me believe that Justin Gaethje has a good chance to actually win here, because we want the interesting fight. Because for me, this event, the whole White House event, it ends with Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane, because I know that Ilia Topuria will KO Justin Gaethje in the first or second round,
Yeah.
basically. So for me, it's not even going to be entertaining because I expect it. But yeah, I agree with you. I would wish that it was a bit more even. Maybe even hope for a pullout from Justin Gaethje so that Arman Sarukian steps up on short notice. But yeah, do we have anything else to add to this one, or are we ready to move on?
No, I think we said basically everything here.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Then the next one, the only fight on this card that is totally even on the odds. It's a pick me, this one, and that surprises me. I have to be honest. The odds are entirely even, and I guess that's because Pereira obviously is a much greater fighter than Ciryl Gane if you look at his resume, but he's moving up to is it his third weight class, because he was middleweight and light heavyweight, now he's at heavyweight against the number one heavyweight in the world. Who do you have in this one? I think it has really divided the fan base, so it's gonna be interesting to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, I know it's a really even fight, and putting in a prediction for this one it really isn't easy because even though I do think that the odds maybe doesn't tell the entire story, I do think that I think Pereira should be just a slight favorite here, simply because of his just incredible power and the journey he's been on. You said that it's his third weight division, and he was in middleweight. Started out in middleweight, then went up to light heavyweight, dominated there, and now he's here at heavyweight, and he just looks stronger than ever, bigger than ever, healthier than ever,
Yeah.
happier than ever. Even you can almost say it. So for me, Pereira, he's gonna be, he's not gonna be going up here thinking, am I gonna be able to get this guy or not? You know, he's not gonna be, he isn't gonna underestimate Ciryl Gane, but he isn't gonna either go up here with a kind of mentality like I'm the underdog. He's gonna come up here with the mentality like I am the champion already, and I'm gonna show it here in the heavyweight division as well, and become the first, you know, 3-time division champion. So for me, Ciryl Gane, he's a decent heavyweight fighter, but he might have become overrated maybe over the years, at least as of right now, because of the heavyweight division. It's in a pretty poor state. And sure, what has he got going for him? You know, he's pretty quick, pretty, you know, what do you say, pretty hard to, you know, reach on the feet.
Yeah.
He has decent footwork. He is athletic, you know, good cardio, good mix up of strikes, you know, combinations, and can manage, you know, he can manage a long fight, you know, over several rounds, eventually doing damage to his opponent and being able to get him out of there. But he can't. I don't think that Ciryl Gane will be able to compare to Alex Pereira here. He will be going up against, you know, this won't be a light heavyweight. I think some people are thinking about it like that we have a light heavyweight versus a heavyweight in Pereira versus Gane. It is a heavyweight matchup. It really is a heavyweight matchup. They are basically the same height. They are probably absolutely the same weight, I would reckon, in the octagon when they go in there.
Yeah.
And the reach, there's a very, very small reach advantage for Ciryl Gane, but a better leg reach advantage for Pereira. So for me in this fight, the difference will be the power and the timing of Alex Pereira, and I think that it won't be a round one knockout blitz like Ankalaev for me, but it will be an eventual knockout by Pereira. So I'd say something like, I mean, Gane is pretty good, you know, at avoiding a confrontation, and since this is a tight bout, it will be 5 rounds, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a fourth round TKO from Alex Pereira. That's my pick. What do you have here?
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna stick my neck out on the line and become a bit unpopular with the MMA community here, but in my opinion, Ciryl Gane is brutally. You touched on it, but I think he's so overrated. To be honest, people talk about
Yeah,
him like he's like one of the best heavyweights ever. I mean, what has the guy done? I mean, his run like 5 years ago is good. 5 years in MMA is a long time. Lately, what has the guy done? I mean, he got embarrassed by a sort of to say it, quite a chubby John Jones at heavyweight who didn't look athletic at all, and he submitted him standing up in the like first or second round. It was embarrassing to watch with Ciryl Gane. Then against Tom Aspinall, people don't like this, but he was gassing. Just in the end of the fight, before he eye poked him, cheating by the way, he was gassing in the Tom Aspinall fight in the first round. If that fight had continued, I could have bet my house on Tom Aspinall smoking Ciryl Gane. Um, and who else has he beat that is even the close to the level of Alex Pereira? I don't see it. And like I agree with you that this will be two heavyweights. I think the bookies, sorry, the odds setters here, they think that it's a light heavyweight versus a heavyweight, and it's a totally different ball game. For one, I don't agree with that. For two, we've seen lighter men skill when someone like an Ilia Topuria or Islam Makachev or Volkanovski, when he moved up to lightweight to fate Makachev, how the lighter man often can compete very, very well with his skill set. And in terms of skill set here, I think it's worlds apart from Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. I really, really do. I expect Alex Pereira, to chew up the leg of Ciryl Gane with some kicks, to move into range good. Ciryl Gane is, like you said, he's fast and he's good at moving away, but Alex Pereira is one of the best guys at stalking you down. So I don't expect that to work for Ciryl Gane here. It's one thing to do it against like Spivak or someone like that, and a whole other thing to do it like Alex Pereira. It's like they say, it's like swimming across a garden pond and then trying to swim across the Atlantic. It's like not even close. So for me, I'm gonna stick my neck on the line, like I said, and go for a Alex Pereira second round KO or TKO. I reckon. I think he's gonna take the first one just to feel it out, and then when he doesn't get like anything back, maybe. I mean, if he gets eye poked, that's a shame. We should be expecting that by now from Ciryl Gane. He does it like every fight. But if that doesn't happen, I'm confident in a Alex Pereira finish here. Actually, I'm gonna say second round KO for Alex Pereira, and I think it's gonna be quite good money since the fight is so even on the odds here.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to add on this one?
No, I think we both pretty much agree that Pereira is the superior pick here in terms of this fight, and the book is
Sorry to interrupt you. I just remember something that is a bit interesting. I don't know if you have a theory on it, but for the law, since this event was booked and announced, Pereira was like a slight favorite, and now in like the last 2 weeks before the event, it's totally even. So I don't know if there anything we might have missed, because I haven't seen anything from either fighter that makes me like believe that Pereira has the worst chance of winning now. Maybe there was a picture of Alex Pereira where he looked on the bigger side. I think that's positive. I think it doesn't have to cut much weight, and it's going to have even more energy and power because of it. But why is that the thing? I mean, maybe this isn't the time to like theorize, but it just caught my attention. Do you have any idea why they would like go from having Alex Pereira as favorite to now being totally even?
I don't really know. I think that it's sort of sometimes the bookies just get a bit nervous. I feel like with some fights, and just randomly over time it just slides sort of equal or something, because kind of like you remember the first Pereira Ankalaev fight where it started out as, I'm pretty sure Pereira was a favorite, and then over time it just became Ankalaev.
Ankalaev became the favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, he became the favorite over time.
Very strange.
For some reason, it just slided over time, in his favor. Sometimes that drift just happens, and I don't really know why. But in terms of
if
this
there's
fight,
one guy we've learned not to doubt, it's Alex Pereira. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, we don't have to take it that right now. But I was just thinking, what would even happen if he loses this? He won't go back down. Surely not. He would just stay in heavyweight. I mean,
yeah, I reckon
he
signed like recently. He signed like an 8-fight deal or something incredible like that with the UFC. Even though he's like, is he 38 or something? He's old, but heavyweight is the division where you can fight the longest. So I reckon he's gonna stay at heavyweight. He doesn't want to move back down and start cutting a lot more weight. And I think honestly, even if he loses Ciryl, I mean, Tom Aspinall, of course, I think he beats everyone else. Maybe not Pavlovich or someone like that, but he has a good chance against Pavlovich, Volkov, Cortez Acosta, those guys. So he will be like, even if he loses, he's a top 3 heavyweight, I reckon. So I think he will stay there in the heavyweight division, to be honest.
Okay, so moving on to the next fight, we have a bantamweight bout between Sean O'Malley and Ayman Zahabi. And the last fight out, Sean O'Malley fought Son Yadong, and he said before that he needed a knockout, that he was going to get a knockout, and that didn't really happen. And Zahabi wants to continue on his run in the bantamweight division, towards the top rankings here. And I don't really know. What do you see happening in this fight? Can Sean O'Malley get his knockout here, or does Zahabi get a submission, or is it just a point win for either fighter?
I mean, I've been thinking, my feeling has been Sean O'Malley by points the entire time, because I totally agree with you. Sean O'Malley last time out against Song Yadong, he was promising a finish, statement to get him back into. It was good timing as well. If he'd gotten a knockout, he could be making a claim for a title shot even, because he's such a big name. And it was like he was like, he never got out of like second gear even, because he's an amazing fighter. But it was like he didn't even want to show that. And if that was like Merab he was fighting and he was like winning on points, then I get it. You don't want to take like any risk or stuff like that. But against Song Yadong, I mean, really? So, but with that said, I've rewatched some of Zahabi's fights, and I don't want to come across like, disrespectful or anything like that, but I'm not impressed at all, to be honest. And at first I was like, why are the odds in so much in Sean O'Malley's favor? But then I look through it. I mean, I thought to myself, Zahabi, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and then I looked through his record in his fights, and like he doesn't have a single submission in the UFC. So is it someone else? And I double checked. No, he has got a black belt in jiu-jitsu. but he hasn't got a single submission. I mean, how is that even possible? So he doesn't seem to utilize his biggest strength. And Sean O'Malley has fought a lot of good grapplers and hasn't, except for with Merab, hasn't had that much issue. His defense in terms of grappling is really good, actually. He has incredibly long range for bantamweight. He keeps you at that range. He punishes you. But I think you actually asked the right question, because I'm gonna pick Sean O'Malley. But the question for me is, will he get the finish? I think he will want to get the finish. It's the biggest stage. He's in the featured fight of this card. It's a pretty good opponent for him to get a finish and then call out, Peter Yan or Merab or anyone like that at the top.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just because I want to see it, but I actually think that surely it's make or break. But I think he's gonna get the finish here. I'm gonna say like let's go for a round 2 TKO, I reckon. But it's difficult. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he did a pretty good breakdown there in terms of what Sean O'Malley needs to do here. I agree, he needs to get a finish if he really wants to get back into that. You remember that when he became champ, that superstardom almost level that he had.
Yeah.
Just in the MMA, in the UFC, just in general. I think I think he wants to get back to that level, and I think the UFC wants him to get back on that level, and they want him to get a finish here, and he wants it too on a personal level. He just needs to get rid of that sort of, I don't know, that's almost fear or whatever it was, cautiousness, that he had versus Song Yadong, because I guess then it was about just getting a win, and now it's about showing up, at the White House lawn and making it a real, party here. And I think Zahabi, I mean, talking about Zahabi, for me, it's sort of like Gaethje almost, in terms of that. I don't think Gaethje is a step down from I talked about before, from Holloway. So for me, Zahabi, he's a step down from Song Yadong, really. I don't think
Totally.
that Zahabi, as you said,
Great point.
I'm not really impressed with Song Yadong here. I'm sorry, with
Zahabi,
Zahabi.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that he doesn't really compare that well. I think that Song Yadong is just as good at wrestling as him, better at striking, probably better at wrestling. Probably, actually, I would say that Song Yadong is maybe better on every level. Zahabi might be a little bit more elusive, a little bit more, agile or mobile, in terms of his movement and grappling, but still, for me, Song Yadong is just a superior fighter, and I genuinely think that they made this fight this way because they want Sean O'Malley to pick up a win. I am sort of surprised by the odds, or he is a favorite. O'Malley is a favorite, but I almost feel like it should be
more
it should be even more clear, and it really is about getting either getting a finish or a points win here. And for O'Malley, he needs to do that. And if I think Zahabi can get a finish, not really. He hasn't gotten a single submission in the UFC. He has gotten knockouts, but he's not going to knock out Sean O'Malley. That's just not going to happen. Sure, we can talk about Gaethje having maybe a 1% chance, to just to catch Topuria with a random, hook or something, and put him out with his power. That can happen. It's very, very unlikely, but it can happen because he has power. Zahabi has a little bit of power in terms of he has knocked out or TKO'd opponents before, but he's not going to do it against a striker in Sean O'Malley, and he doesn't really have any hope of submitting him. So I don't see him winning it if he doesn't take down. If he begins every round with taking down Sean O'Malley and keeping him down or taking him down over and over, somehow he can win. But he's not. This is not Merab Dvalishvili we're talking about here, and it's not Song Yadong. Even against Song Yadong, I thought that Sean O'Malley had a decent takedown defense. He defended like half of the takedowns, and he won the fight by keeping it clean on the feet. And I'm predicting the same thing. I thought. Did you see was it a second round TKO or knockout? You said.
Yeah, I
for Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
I'm going with the same thing here. I'm feeling a second round TKO here for Sugar Sean.
Right.
And the Americans are gonna celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe do a call up, but I totally agree with you. By the way, I think that's a great point. That Zahabi doesn't present anything, in my opinion, that Song Yadong just doesn't. So we saw how that fight went, and I know MMA math doesn't work like that, but you look at Zahabi's most recent fight against Marlon Vera, an older version than the one Sean O'Malley fought, and he got a split decision, Zahabi, against him. Sean O'Malley
Yeah.
schooled Marlon Vera. It was like one of the clearest fights ever. He got like several 10-8 rounds and absolutely finished him totally. I mean, not in the fight literally, but just mentally. And Marlon Vera is very tough, so that's a big difference as well. So I think great point from you, and that makes me confident in this one. It's just going to be if Sean O'Malley actually puts his foot on the pedal here and goes empties the tank for a finish. I think he will get it actually.
Yeah.
All right. Should we move on then to the next fight, which is the one that wasn't announced at first, but after an incredible performance from Josh Hokit against the incredible Hawk against Blades, one of my favorite fighters. I did not see that one coming at all. He shocked pretty much everyone in the MMA community and got his call out and got the fight on the widest card against Donald Trump's favorite fighter, Derrick Lewis, a legendary UFC fighter known for his power. However, he's old. He's quite slow nowadays. Is that one punch power enough for Derrick Lewis, or do you expect Hokit's run to continue here?
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible, run from Josh Hokit so far, and I don't really know exactly the amount of time he's fought in the last year, but probably, I mean, it's probably about 3 times in, let's say, 9 months or something, which I think is quite respectable, in the heavyweight division when some fighters aren't really that active. So just for that, I want to applaud Josh Hokit here because this is going to be his 4th fight, right, in a calendar year.
Yeah.
It's very good, I think, from him to show that level of activity, as I said. But in terms of Derrick Lewis, I think that he's going to appreciate the chance to turn up here, at the White House, at basically President Trump's own request. So he's going to want to make him proud. He's not going to want to go out there, and quit. At least I hope so. After what we saw versus Cortez Acosta, was a shambolic performance from Derrick Lewis.
Yeah.
And if he has any, if he even does anything similar, then he's gonna be cut straight from the UFC. So I do expect him to try to turn up here, but it's as you said, can he meet Josh Hokit? Can he meet his speed? He's used the pressure and athleticism. I don't think so. He's basically Derrick Lewis is 41 at this point. Josh Hokit is 28. That's a 13. That's a 13-year age gap. That's incredible. It's I just think that the level is going to be so big here in terms of what these guys are capable of. If this goes even longer than a round or 2, then Derrick Lewis is going to look completely broken, I think, eventually. So I do think that we shouldn't completely write Derrick Lewis off here because he has that power that I don't think that Josh Hokit has. Josh Hokit has a lot of speed. He has a lot of pressure. He does have power, but he doesn't have that, one touch, death touch of knockout power. I'm not saying that Derrick Lewis has incredible power, but he does have, one tier above, I would say, of power just in terms of being able to just get that clean knockout. And for me, that's the weapon that Derrick Lewis has. And when you're Josh Hokit, when you're rushing in, you need to get in range. Derrick Lewis has much higher reach, much longer reach here than Josh Hokit. So Josh Hokit is gonna be the guy who needs to get in that reach. That's dangerous because then he's gonna be to be able to get past Derrick Lewis' hands and get in the reach to box. Then he's gonna have to probably eat a strike, maybe, or at least be in danger of eating a strike or 2, and that's really dangerous, even if it's only 1 strike from Derrick Lewis. So that's the real danger for me, and I do think that is dangerous. But the thing there is that's only going to happen a few times, and as soon as Hokit is in range to unleash on Derrick Lewis, he's not completely finished, but he won't be easily be able to get out, and he's not going to be athletic or anything. He's not fast on his feet, anymore. He's not going to be able to just dance out of his way around the octagon like like Prime Ali or something. just evade the strikes. That's not gonna happen. So I do see Josh Hokit just wearing Derek Lewis down here and breaking him eventually. The question is which round I see that happening. Do you also see him getting a finish here, Josh Hokit, or is there anything any other? Do you see it going? Do you see it going the distance? That probably isn't that likely, but what do you see here?
No, I really don't actually. I don't think that this will go the distance at all. Derek Lewis, I am a fan of him, but his last outing, like you said, it did you say something like diabolical or something like that? It was spot on the word you used because
Yeah,
or
shambolic or
shambolic, yeah, and that's a bit
yeah.
nicer than I would like to be. I would like to call it pathetic because he said in like the countdown video, he was like, "My cardio's been off, my training's been off before, but now I feel better than ever." And he quit to his cardio in the second. I mean, Cordes Acosta is a great fighter, but it wasn't even like he got knocked out. He just quit, like Gassiev. I mean, it's really, really poor form. And is Cordes Acosta a better fighter than Josh Hokit? Yeah, he might very possibly be, but I think Josh Hokit, he went toe to toe and beat Curtis Blades. I don't think that Derek Lewis would do that now. I really don't. And I think that Josh Hokit is a quick fighter. Maybe he hasn't got that much power necessarily for the heavyweight division, but he's got a lot of speed, good combinations. We saw that against Blades. He hasn't got that good of a reach, but he compensates with his fight IQ and his, his speed in moving in and out of range. And I think that gave Curtis Blades problems. And I know I already said it, but if it gives Curtis Blades problems, you can bet your house on the fact that it will give Derek Lewis problems. And by the way, I do agree with you. The only thing I see for Derek Lewis, if he lands like an overhand right or like an uppercut clean on Josh Hokit, I think he could go out. But then again, he took some really, really good shots from Curtis Blades as well, and took him very well. I was very surprised actually. So for me, it is incredible that Hokit is such a big favorite against a legend here, but I think it's for the right reasons. I think he. Did you give a prediction? Sorry, because did you say points or sorry,
No,
or stoppage or?
I do think it's gonna go. It's not gonna go the distance, but I'm not really sure what round. The thing I'm thinking of, and you said something very good there. I just want to touch on the. You said that Hokit did eat some pretty good strikes from Blades, and really wasn't. He got past it. So that's also true. He does have a bit of a. He has a good chin as well, and that
Yeah,
can probably help when he's meeting. It's not prime Derek Lewis here. It's an
no,
old Derek Lewis who's
far
not gonna
far
have.
from
Yeah,
prime. Yeah,
not gonna have the same hand speed, the same accuracy. Probably, it's not even if it does hit Hokit with the speed Hokit has, it's not gonna be a clean connection or anything. It would have to be a miracle, I think, for him to just hit him super cleanly and knock him out. But it can happen. I'm just saying that it's an alternative. But for me, I'm betting on let's say a Josh Hokit TKO in the. It's hard to see if it's gonna go what round it's gonna go to. But I could actually see it happening the more I think about it, the more I feel it happening in the first round. Even,
oh
I mean,
damn,
Derek Lewis,
yeah,
he's slow. He's not fast or anything. I don't see him surviving. Sure he has longer reach and everything, and that can be dangerous in the first exchange. But as soon as Hokit gets in that reach and gets close enough to make him uncomfortable, he's gonna make him really uncomfortable. I just feel like, and yeah, I'm predicting a first round TKO for Josh Hokit
yeah, that's very possible.
here.
I had written down here in my predictions a second round TKO either from Hokit or just Lewis quitting to his own cardio. Basically, is actually what I reckon will happen
Yeah,
again.
that's also a safe bet.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis lost by heart basically. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the round two stoppage from Hokit. So we're on along the same lines there, basically. And just quickly, we'll need to move on. It's going to be quite a long one since there's so many fights on this card. But yeah, I was going to say, who do you reckon he calls out? It's a whole other discussion about who he should be fighting next and everything like that. But I am looking forward to after if he wins Hockett, just a promo on the mic. He's very entertaining. Even if you think he's cringe, he does draw eyes and people are talking about him. So I'm almost looking forward to that as much as the fight itself, his post-fight interview, you know.
Yeah, he for sure is entertaining on the mic. You know, whatever you say about him, he is entertaining for sure.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on down the card to a lightweight matchup? Huffy, I believe it's pronounced, against Michael Chandler. And finally, it's time for Michael Chandler to face a real contender. It seems like he's been getting a lot of good matchup, not good in in terms of winning them, but he keeps getting very high status matchups, I suppose. But
Yep.
when after that Paddy Pimblett fight, I mean, no like disrespect to Paddy Pimblett, but we saw in the Justin Gaethje fight, people give him credit for being tough, and that's fair enough. But the striking isn't as good as I thought. But when you looked at Pimblett against Chandler, Pimblett looked like you mentioned Muhammad Ali earlier. Pimblett didn't look far off. He was like throwing combination. He looked incredible everywhere. And what does that say about Michael Chandler? You know, for me, it's like it's just a receipt on the fact that he's finished. I don't know. Do you agree with that? First of all, do you think Chandler has he got? I mean, he's Mr. America himself. He's going to love this opportunity, and coming in as an underdog. Does he present anything to Hoofy that can intimidate him? Does he have anything left to give Michael Chandler? What do you think?
No, I mean I don't think so. I think that he's looking at his record. The only fighter he's won against in the last, since 2021, he's only won against Tony Ferguson, and before that, Dan Hooker, in 2021, back in
Yeah.
2021, Ferguson in 2022. He's lost, even though he's met some, as you said, he's met pretty high level opposition, Oliveira, Gaethje, Poirier, and obviously Pimblett as well, as you covered, but still, he really hasn't looked good in any of these fights, as far as I remember.
No.
And, no, I just think that Chandler, Ufi also, sure he is a bit of a, you can see, he's not established or anything, but for me, Mauricio Hufi, he's someone who could be a future champion if, let's say, Ilia Topuria moves up
Yeah.
and leaves the lightweight division or just leaves the UFC, then for sure he's a future champion level fighter. So for
Totally.
me,
Yeah.
even though it might say that he's 9th ranked, lightweight, it's a lower level matchup. I think that it's just as high level matchup as Paddy Pimblett actually, and I don't see it going any differently, especially in terms of the striking. With Hufi just being so superior. So for me, this is a fight which won't go the distance, and I think Hufi makes it look easy. And I'm gonna go basically the same thing as Hokit here versus Lewis. I'm gonna go by a first round TKO this time, just by the insane level difference. I think there is a technical striking difference.
Yeah.
Hufi by whatever he wants on the feet. I don't think he goes to the ground.
No, that's spot on. Whatever he damn wants. I mean, Michael Chandler is a good wrestler, but he doesn't use it. And I mean, Hoofy, as we all know by now, has been training for like over a year, I think, with Volkanovski and that
Yeah.
team a lot. I mean, that's just bad news for everyone at lightweight. I totally agree with you that he's a future champion. If you look at his last fight against, and he did lose against Santini before, but then his last fight, he bounced back, fought Rafael Fisiev, a very good lightweight, who's very technical, and he got a finish over him. Fisiev, I believe in the UFC, he's only gotten finished in his like debut when it was totally new. After that, he's fought like Gaethje 2 times, hasn't gotten finished. So to finish Fisiev is actually a really impressive thing for Hoofy, and to do it in that fashion. I mean, it wasn't even that close. It looked natural, and I totally agree with this. He combines his striking so well. It's like he's a thinking fighter, and I love that as well. We obviously know he's been part of the fighting nerds and everything like that. But even out of them, I think he's one of the ones who's like very sensible when he fights.
Yeah.
He picks his shots very, very well, and I see, like you said, totally has all the elements to become like a champion. And we've seen people who don't become champions who beat Michael Chandler pretty easily. So for me, this is the easiest fight to call by the card. Bet your house on Hoofy with I agree with you, a round one finish. I think it might be actually might be the first time I think we see Chandler flatline, out cold, unconscious. Or maybe he's gonna try and get to like, is it like it's a lot higher performance bonuses? I think maybe he will do like, how Prates was against Jack Del Melena, who was like, after the first round, okay, I'm gonna win, so now I might as well try and get a good finish here. Maybe he even does something like that to get a bonus. But and that again goes with what you said, buy whatever he wants. I think he might actually try and get some style points here. So
Yeah, that's true.
not that interesting of a fight, but it's always nice to see, a good impressive finish. Not for the Americans though, because Chandler is like a patriot for America, and then to get knocked out cold at the White House, I don't think that they will like the look of that. But that's the sport, I'm afraid. Um,
Yeah,
should we move on to our next American bout, or
absolutely. So moving up here, or moving down the card, we have a middleweight bout between Bo Nickal and Kyle Daukaus. I think the only, except for Hokit versus Lewis, it's the only other All-American fight we have here. And these are two fighters who I believe, are primarily wrestlers, or that's their main domain. You could say that Nickal maybe is a bit more well-rounded now, but both of these guys have been pretty good in the grappling. So how do you see this one going? Is this one gonna be on the ground, or is it gonna be on the feet? Are you gonna maybe take out each other's strengths, and are we gonna get a point or a finish here?
that last question is the most difficult one, I
Yeah,
think, because of course, Bo Nickel, he has been improving a lot. I've never gotten the hype. I know some people who trained with him, like I think Dustin Poirier and Masvidal and those guys at the American Top Team. They've been really, really impressed by him. But I look at this as MMA. We're not doing wrestling. I mean, um, it's another sport, so you can't go into it only being a wrestler. However, in his last fight, even I, as a hater of Bo Nickel, was impressed. He got a head kick KO. We haven't seen like any striking of him before that, so that was really, really impressive. Um, but answering your question, how will this fight play out? I think it's a difficult one because Daukaus, in my opinion, isn't that great, but he knows going into this one that he has to get a Hail Mary. He's not a striker. He's not gonna be able to keep Nickal at range, I don't think, and I think he knows that as well. But he's very good at grappling, and he's got a lot of cheeky submissions. So, not that I'm like a technical geek when it comes to grappling or anything like that, but what I do know from listening to people who are good at submissions when they fight people who are predominantly wrestlers is that, when they go for the takedown for like a single leg or whatever it is, uh, they want to counter that by getting a submission like the first thing in. So maybe like, um, sorry, what's it called? Daukaus. He has got a very, very good both guillotine and door choke. I think his nickname is something like the Dark Knight, something like
yeah,
that. After the door choke,
Doris Knight. I think,
yeah,
yeah, Doris
exactly.
Knight.
So I think if Nickal is stupid and shoots pretty unresponsibly, maybe the door choke it's there, and I think he will have practiced that. But then again, if I'm aware of it, you can bet your bottom dollar on the fact that Bo Nickel will be aware of
Yeah.
it. So, is that going to be enough? I'm afraid not. I think that the favorite status that Nickel has going into this one is warranted, and I reckon that he gets it done. However, last time out, he got a good head kick, but I don't want to, like I said, be a hater, but Rodolfo Vieira isn't all that. He's not very good. Maybe he can prove me wrong and have some, like a finish on the feet, maybe like strikes, TKO, a head kick, something like that. Would be impressive. It's the stage to do it because it's an unranked guy, so it's like a good opportunity to look good. But to be honest, my prediction will be that he goes for the safe route. He seems to be doing that, just grappling, controlled grappling, not really transitioning to many submissions, just a lot of control time. And I'm gonna go with the Bo Nickel unanimous decision. Will be my pick. What do you reckon?
Yeah, first I think you did a very good breakdown there on the fight, and there's not that much to add in terms of how I think this fight will go. I mean, basically, yeah, you could make a case for Bo Nickel maybe knocking him out if we're gonna go by any finish, but otherwise I think that Daukaus has enough grappling and enough know-how in that domain to sort of defend submissions, and as you said, Nickal also will maybe be going with a cautious route here. He knows that he'll open himself up for counter submissions if he himself tries to get, gets too greedy for submissions. And this is the White House. This is the UFC Freedom 250. Card is probably the biggest. You could say that in terms of how stacked the card itself is, maybe UFC 300 was even more stacked than how it turned out. But in terms of just the spectacle, the event that this will be remembered probably even even more, even if it goes badly. So for Nickal, this is a prime opportunity to just get a win, I think, here and be the American who because there's a lot of other, sure, Hokit Lewis, you will have an American winner there, and O'Malley probably as well, but otherwise, the card might open with, we'll get to that eventually, but Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. I reckon that the Brazilian Diego Lopes gets that done, and also, Ruffy versus Chandler. So I think that Nickal will just be focused here on just being the American here that wins, even if it's against another American. I think that he wants to win to succeed here, and he'll do it sort of like you said, controlled time, just steady, controlling the fight. I think he has decent fight IQ as well, and he's just more well-rounded and probably even better in the grappling than Daukaus in terms of wrestling. Actually, I believe he was like a state champion or something before. Going into the MMA, so he for sure has that going for him. So yeah, not to drag on too long about this, I'll just say the same thing. I think he gets a unanimous decision over Carl Daukaus here for Nickal.
All right, yeah. That's reasonable. All right, should we move on to the last fight for us? And that's the first fight off the card, and it's a banger. I get why they put this one, as the first fight, because we have two featherweights. It's Diego Lopes against Garcia, and I mean, this is I believe it will be an entertaining fight. Garcia usually is quite aggressive. I don't expect that to change, and we all know Diego Lopes' fighting style is that as well. Except for like a war, what do you expect from this fight, and who will come out on top?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will be, as you said, a war. It's great. It's a great fight to have on the opening as the opening on this card, and I expect Diego Lopes to really show up here, be really hype. Especially after the Volkanovski fight. Sure, he couldn't get the belt, but he did beat Jan Silva in a good fight between them and the second Volk fight. So I just believe if you look at those three fights, back to back to back, Volk versus Diego Lopes 1, and then look at him versus Jan Silva, and then Volk 2, then I just think that this is such a he's been training against that level of opponent for so long. I'm not gonna say Jan Silva is the same level as Volk, but I do believe Jan Silva is a higher level than Steve Garcia. Sort of has the higher potential. So for me, training against those types of strikers for such such a long time and being on that level, fighting tight, I mean, getting tighter shots, I do think that Lopes, sort of similar to O'Malley, basically, stepping down from fighting Merab to fighting Song Yadong and Zahabi. I think that is just a step down for Diego Lopes. A nice fight to basically to kick off, to kick on after the whole Volkanovski, fights for him. So for me, Diego Lopes, he's isn't maybe the most technical striker, in the UFC, but he does have decent amount of power, decent hand speed. He's well-rounded. He's just a good fighter. I think he can be a future champion eventually if the featherweight division clears out, after a while. And he's definitely that, for me, that caliber fighter, even if he lost versus Volk twice. Volk is a GOAT level fighter, so there's a tier below. I mean, Volk is a tier above Diego Lopes, but for me, Steve Garcia is a tier below Diego Lopes. I think there are three tiers going here. Yeah, so for me, Diego Lopes gets this done. Probably, I'm even gonna say by a TKO, but I do think it might be or it will be a war. So I'll say something like the third round. I'm gonna go by a third round TKO for Diego Lopes after a bloody fight, but still with the obvious, maybe even a 10-8 round or something, to round it out when Diego Lopez, when he really gets the steam going in the fight and start getting a bit confident, about himself. If he doesn't have that from the outset.
Right. Yeah. I think for me personally, I reckon that this one's going to be, sometimes we see one of those when a guy like Diego Lopez goes 10 rounds with the greatest featherweight of all time and does compete well. He doesn't get finished, but he loses both quite clearly. And people are like, oh, he wasn't really that good. And then they come back like he did against John Silva, one of the most hyped guys in the
Yeah,
entire featherweight division, and he finished him. And I think this will be like, one to like, okay, guys, put some respect on my name. Remember who I
yeah,
am. Just
absolutely.
because I lost 2 fights to Volk doesn't mean I'm like should be unranked. I mean, if you look at Diego Lopez's resume, like we've already covered, not getting finished by Volk in 2 fights is impressive. Beating John Silva by TKO is very impressive. Beating Brian Ortega by unanimous decision is a really good win, by the way. The Dan Ige fight was on short notice, and Ige at that time of his career was really decent and quite underrated. And then the other loss he has had was against Evloev in like a really, really competitive fight, which Diego Lopez took on like 2 weeks' notice. And we know that Evloev is like next in line for a title shot right now. So that's even like almost like a win, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah,
I think people are really sleeping on Diego Lopez and just getting off the hype train just because he lost to Walk, which is, I think that's ridiculous to be honest. Like you said, Stu Garcia, he's got hard, he's aggressive, but that's where it ends for me. I think you said like Volk is one level, Diego Lopez is one under, and Garcia is one under. For me, he's like 3 or 4 levels under, and I think that will show. And I know I preempted this by saying it will be like a war, but the more I think about it and I speak about it, I think that it will not be that much of a war. Maybe in the first round, but I'm gonna go for a Diego Lopez second round finish. I reckon. Just decisive to make everyone remember that like I'm no mug. I belong at the top because when I look at the division, Diego Lopez is like the second best guy. Him, Murphy, Evloev, those guys. He's in that mix. We shouldn't forget that. So all in all, I think it's going to be a banging opening fight because Diego Lopez, every time he fights, he delivers entertainment. And like I said, my prediction is I agree with you that it's going to get finished, but I'm going to go for the second round, TKO or KO for Diego Lopez here to open up the night.
yeah. All right. So that's I respect that pick, and I do agree. Sort of, as you said that as you talked, as we talked about the fight more and more, that maybe it seemed even clearer. How much of a level difference there really is here. If you look at the records and the resume,
Yeah,
I just have a feeling that maybe Diego Lopez will start sort of not low on confidence or anything, but just a bit cautiously, just to feel it out, just feel it's gonna be the first fight on the White House lawn.
yeah,
I think it's gonna maybe though, maybe that won't happen, or maybe it will be the opposite effect. Maybe it will just be hyping up even more. He's just gonna go out there, and completely putting it all on Ciryl Garcia, and as you said, get a second round TKO probably. But I'm gonna stick with my third round TKO here. That's what I think will happen. I think that Steve Garcia, he might have a chin and heart enough to hang in there for just a few rounds, but there will be a clear level difference. Absolutely.
yeah. And that's just interesting. I know that it's quite a long video, but it's also a very big card and a very
Yeah.
not just big in many fights, but it's also a very special card. So that's why this video will be a bit longer than some of our other one previews. But just to add to what you said, because I think it's a point that we should round off the entire card with when you mentioned the fact of fighting on the White House, not just for the Americans and what it means, but just like I mentioned at the start in the intro, it's like the whole world will keep an eye on this because it's such a spectacle. Never before
Yeah.
has any kind of sporting event been held at the White House grounds. So this will be a spectacle, and there will be a lot more. I mean, Dana White said something yesterday with him expecting, like Super Bowl numbers, and that's a lot for the UFC. And just quickly on Diego Lopez, I mean, if it's someone who's used to it, it's him. He fought at UFC 300 and he fought at the Sphere, two of the biggest card in recent UFC history. So hopefully and probably I think he's going to be, you know, used to that pressure. But that's something to keep in mind when you guys predict your fights and watch these fights on Sunday night. Is that how will some of these fighters cope with the abnormal amount of pressure of fighting on this big of an occasion where so many more people will be watching than usual? If you have a fighter who's fighting that you question the mentality of or the mental fortitude, maybe this is the time it's actually
Come to show,
doesn't go the way. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind and adds an extra level of excitement for this card, at least for me, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of stakes. A lot of stakes on this card.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully it will turn out to be as legendary of an event as we hope. I mean, it's stacked at least, and there's a lot of exciting fighters on the card. So hopefully it doesn't disappoint. But looking at it now, I can't see that it will. I think it will be a banger, and we'll for sure be staying up the entire night to watch it. Right?
For sure, 100%.
Yeah. But I think that's all, right? Or do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, I just want to thank everyone for listening to this prediction. You know, as you said, it's a long one, but it's needed for this level of card. So, yeah, thank you, and see you guys next time.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.